My name is Kevin Sanders. Until recently, I had been working at a company I joined right after graduating college. But due to certain circumstances, I left the corporate world. That circumstance was that my family had been running a sandwich shop for generations. But since my father became too ill to work properly, I had to suddenly take over the store. To be honest, I'd always planned to take over one day, but I didn't expect it to happen this soon. The reason is simple. I had only worked at the company for a few years, and my dad had always been in good health. I wanted to gain a bit more experience before taking over, but with my dad getting sick, I didn't have much choice. He didn't pass away, so we've had plenty of conversations about the situation.
Sorry for suddenly throwing the responsibility of the shop on you, but I believe you'll handle it well, Kevin.
Don't worry about it. Just take it easy and rest. I'm not sure how things will turn out with the shop, but I'll figure it out.
If you have any questions, ask me anything. You've only ever worked as a company employee, so I'm sure there are things you don't know about running a business.
Actually, I always thought this day would come eventually. So, while working at the company, I was also thinking about how to make the shop more successful.
Oh really? You were doing that? Well, that puts me at ease.
Even so, I haven't actually done anything yet, so it's hard to say how things will go.
Well, there's nothing more I can do. Just run it your way.
Thanks. According to my dad, he'd even considered closing the shop altogether. So, even if I fail to run the store and end up closing it, it seems my dad wouldn't be too upset about it. When he says things like that, it almost feels like he doesn't expect much from me, which only fuels my motivation. I've always been that kind of person. The less people expect from me, the more determined I am to prove them wrong. In this case, too, it's clear that my dad doesn't have high expectations for me. So I've decided to work hard and increase the store's sales beyond what it was when he was running it. And surprise him. Thinking about all this, I discussed it with my mom and decided to take over the shop. To be honest, I accepted the responsibility a bit too easily, but I'm worried about whether I can actually manage it well. It seems my mom is also a little anxious about me taking over the store. After all, I've only worked as a company employee until now, and suddenly I'm running a sandwich shop. It's no surprise she feels that way.
Are you okay with suddenly taking over the store? I've been helping out here for years, so I know how things work day to day, but I don't really understand the more important aspects of the business.
I told Dad this too, but I've actually been studying a little. So I'm not too worried about the management side, but I don't know much about the finer details of the shop. So I'd really appreciate it if you could teach me.
Of course, I'll teach you everything I can, but I'm really sorry we had to ask you to take over so suddenly. I never thought your dad would end up in that condition.
Yeah, no one could have predicted he'd get sick. Besides, I always intended to take over the shop someday, so don't worry about it.
Even so, it all happened so fast, and I can't help but worry about a lot of things.
Yeah, there's a lot I'm concerned about too. But with Dad in this situation, we've just got to work together and figure it out.
You're right. Also, something I've noticed while watching your dad, this job can really take a toll on your body, so make sure you take care of yourself.
Yeah, running a sandwich shop means waking up early to prep every morning, and since we stay open late, it's definitely exhausting. I'll make sure to take care of my health so you don't have to worry, Mom. She was right. Ever since I was a student, I had seen my dad running the sandwich shop, but I never thought he was living a particularly healthy lifestyle. Every morning, he would wake up early to do the prep work, and during the day, he would serve customers and sell sandwiches. Watching him, I thought I understood how hard it was to run a sandwich shop, but I knew I couldn't let the shop close. It was part of our family's legacy, so I was determined to do my best. With that in mind, I stepped into the role of running the sandwich shop as its owner. At first, there were many things I wasn't familiar with, and I ended up causing my mom a lot of trouble. But after a few months of working at it, I gradually got the hang of things. Of course, running a sandwich shop isn't easy, but thinking of it as something I'm doing for my parents gives me the strength to keep going. It seems my mom has also gotten used to seeing me working, and she seems more at ease now.
You really seem to have gotten the hang of managing this shop. You're starting to remind me a bit of your dad.
I'm glad to hear that. I was worried since I didn't get to watch Dad's work up close, so I wasn't sure if my way of working was right.
Of course, part of it's because of your youth, but you're louder and more enthusiastic with your greetings than your dad was, and the regulars have been saying great things about you.
The regulars have been saying that. I had no idea. They've never told me directly. Hearing that makes me really happy.
When the transition happened, a lot of the regulars expressed concern, but lately, it seems like they've come to understand how hard you're working.
I had no idea the regulars thought of me that way. It almost brought me to tears. To be honest, I love the company I used to work for, so quitting was really hard for me. That's why being recognized by the regular customers and my mom meant so much to me. Until my mom mentioned it, I hadn't realized how they felt about me. The regulars were probably being considerate, thinking that if they complimented me directly, it might put too much pressure on me. The regulars who have supported this shop, the ones my dad worked so hard to take care of, are genuinely wonderful people, and I feel so grateful to them. For their sake, too, I can't let this shop fail. Lately, that's what's been on my mind as I work. When I was a company employee, I never thought this deeply about each and every customer like I do now. When it's your own store, you naturally start thinking more about your impression on others and how to handle things sincerely. However, since I've started considering things I never thought about as a company employee, I wonder if the added stress is affecting my body. I've been feeling a bit off lately. I wasn't sure whether to tell my mom, but I figured it would be better to be honest than to hide it and have something go wrong later. So I decided to tell her. It's been a few months since I started working at the shop, but lately I've been feeling a little under the weather. I don't think it's anything serious, but I wanted to let you know just in case.
Why didn't you tell me sooner? If you've been feeling like that, you should have said something right away.
It didn't seem serious enough to mention, so I kept quiet. But I figured it'd be better to let you know before something serious happens.
If something happens, it'll be too late. Go get checked at the clinic right away. I don't want you to go through the same thing your dad did, having to give up managing the shop because of illness.
I'm really not feeling that bad. It's just that I occasionally feel a bit tired. I still think I'm in pretty good health. I appreciate you worrying, but I don't think it's worth seeing the doctor.
If you keep saying that, you really will end up like your dad. If something happens to you, this shop will truly be done for. It would make me feel a lot better if you went to the doctor.
If you're that worried, I'll go get checked on my next day off. I've lived with this body for decades, so I'm pretty sure it's nothing serious. To be honest, I feel like I know my body better than anyone else. This fatigue feels like nothing more than built-up exhaustion, not an illness. But since my mom was more worried than I expected, I started to feel a little uneasy. She's right. If something were to happen and I had to close the shop, it would cause trouble for both my parents and the regulars. So I've decided to go to the doctor and get a checkup. I've been healthy my whole life. I've never even caught a cold. That said, My dad got sick to the point where he couldn't work anymore, so I can't be entirely sure that nothing's wrong. Since I had already been feeling a bit under the weather, I figured it was a good opportunity to get checked out. I hadn't been to a hospital in a long time, so I felt pretty nervous as I headed there. With some hesitation, I walked into the nearest clinic and asked for an examination, and they started the test right away. I anxiously sat down to hear what the doctor had to say. Could you please tell me the results of the examination?
Of course. Regarding your condition, Kevin, there was a slight concern, so we'd like you to stay for observation and further tests.
Wait, an observation stay? What do you mean by slight concern? I've never had to rely on a doctor before, so this is making me a bit nervous.
There's no need to panic. Given your family history with your father, we'd like to conduct some detailed tests, just as a precaution. For your peace of mind, I recommend a short stay for observation.
Actually, I run a sandwich shop, so being admitted all of a sudden is a bit difficult for me.
Of course, I understand how important your work is. But if you collapse because you avoided getting tested, it's something you'll regret for the rest of your life. That's why I want you to stay for observation.
All right. I never imagined I'd end up being hospitalized. I thought it was just fatigue, but now it's come to this. But the doctor was right. If I avoid a short hospital stay and end up collapsing, forcing the shop to close, it would be a disaster. I left my job to take over this sandwich shop. After all, I decided to tell my mom that I needed to be admitted for observation. I knew she'd be worried the moment she heard the word hospitalization, but there was no way around it. Actually, I went to the hospital, just like I said I would.
I thought you weren't going to go after the way you sounded, but I'm glad you took your health seriously and went. So, what did the test results say?
Well, it's a little hard to explain.
From the look on your face, it seems like something happened. I won't know unless you tell me, so please explain. I'm prepared for whatever it is.
No, it's not that anything has happened yet. It's just that there's a slight concern. So the doctor asked me to stay for observation.
Oh, so they haven't found anything yet. I thought something serious had happened. You really scared me.
Sorry for making you worry. Since I'll be away from the shop during the observation, I'm afraid I'll be causing you trouble.
Don't worry about me. After everything that happened with your dad, as long as you're healthy, that's all that matters. I really hope the tests don't show anything serious.
The doctor said it's really just a precaution, so I'm pretty sure it's nothing. But the shop will have to close temporarily. I'll make sure to inform the regulars so they don't worry.
I'll handle that part for you. Kevin, you should focus on getting ready for your stay. If something happened to you, it would be devastating.
Thanks for everything, Mom. I'll probably be away for a few days to a couple of weeks, but unless something unexpected happens, you don't need to visit me at the hospital. I told my mom that and began packing my things for the hospital stay. Since I had never been hospitalized before, just the thought of spending nights at the hospital made me feel nervous. Of course, there wasn't going to be any surgery or anything, so there was no reason to be so tense. But I couldn't help feeling restless. According to the doctor, if everything went well, I'd be discharged within a week, but I couldn't help wondering how long I'd actually need to stay. As I was thinking about that, the doctor came into the room to explain the steps leading up to discharge. The detailed explanation helped ease some of my anxiety about being admitted. That said, I still felt uneasy about the unfamiliar hospital life. As I lay on the hospital bed with those worries swirling in my mind, an elderly man from the room next door started talking to me. It seems his name is William. Since I had been feeling a bit lonely, I was really glad to have someone to talk to.
Sorry for suddenly starting a conversation, but may I ask why you're in the hospital? Of course, if you'd rather not say, that's completely fine.
I was admitted for some tests because the doctors found a slight concern. So, it's just a precautionary stay. I'll be here for a couple of weeks. Pleased to meet you during that time.
Oh, a precautionary stay. Huck, well, at least that means you don't have to worry about any surgeries. I'm in a similar situation. No surgeries for me either, so that's a relief.
Is that so? If you don't mind me asking, what brought you here, William? But of course, only if you're comfortable sharing.
I was on a solo trip and ended up nearly getting lost in the mountains. I tried desperately to make my way down and ended up breaking my leg. So here I am. It's really embarrassing.
You went on a solo trip. That sounds amazing. You're really living life to the fullest. I admire that. I'm rooting for your recovery.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
It seemed that William felt embarrassed about breaking his leg during his solo trip. He acted quite reserved. That said, since it was just a broken bone, his life wasn't in any danger. However, since he broke his leg during a solo trip and had to be hospitalized, it seemed he was far from home. Compared to me, he was admitted to a hospital close to where I lived. He must have felt much more isolated. The fact that he was traveling alone made me think he probably wasn't married. Even if someone wanted to visit him, they might live too far away to do so. I felt it would be impolite to pry too much, so I didn't ask him anything too personal. Still, since our hospital rooms were next to each other, we ended up chatting quite a lot during our free time.
So, Kevin, what do you do for a living? I live in a rural area and don't do anything remarkable, but since you live in the city, I was curious.
I used to be a regular company employee working in sales, but recently I took over the sandwich shop my dad used to run. For the past few months, I've been running it with my mom.
A sandwich shop run by someone like you must serve some really delicious sandwiches.
I only just took over, so there are still a lot of things I'm not good at. I feel like I've got a long way to go. It's honestly a bit frustrating.
You might feel that way, but I'm sure your father was proud and happy to see you take over the shop.
I hope so. But running the business has turned out to be way harder than I imagined. It's really opened my eyes to how tough it can be.
It really is difficult to manage something, isn't it? But the fact that you're taking on such a challenge is truly admirable.
Thank you so much. Talking with you really lifts my spirits. You've got to come by and try one of our sandwiches someday.
Absolutely. I'll be sure to visit.
I have these kinds of conversations with William every day. Although I've been undergoing detailed tests, nothing serious has been found. Even so, the doctor still seems concerned and hasn't given me the green light to be discharged. Since I've already been admitted, I can't just break the rules and discharge myself without permission. So I've been patiently sticking it out and continuing my stay for observation. If I were alone, I'd probably be really bored. But thanks to William keeping me company, I never feel bored at all. It's been about a week since I was admitted, and because we've been chatting every day, we've become pretty close. William's leg also seems to be healing well, so there's a chance we might be discharged around the same time. While I was thinking about that, William, you usually had such a warm smile, spoke to me with a guilty expression on his face.
Kevin, I have a small favor to ask. Would that be okay?
William, why so formal? If it's something I can help with, I'm more than happy to. I felt my heart skip a beat, wondering what he was about to ask. Since we had become friends, I really wanted to help him if I could. As I mulled over this, William made his request.
I'm really sorry to ask, but could you lend me $2? If it's too much, I understand, but I really need it.
That's no problem at all. You don't need to worry about paying me back. Just use it for whatever you need.
Thank you so much, really.
I never expected William to ask for $2, but I immediately pulled out the money from my wallet and handed it to him. William gave me a deep bow of gratitude, then left the room with a smile. It occurred to me that I hadn't felt this kind of joy, the feeling of making someone happy, in a long time. When I was running the sandwich shop, my customers' smiles gave me energy. But since being hospitalized, I hadn't experienced that same sense of fulfillment. By giving William the $2, I felt like I'd regained some of that energy. William never mentioned what he needed the money for, but there aren't many things you can buy with $2. He probably saw something he wanted at the hospital's gift shop or snack bar, considering he mentioned almost getting lost during his trip. Maybe he lost his wallet at that time. Or maybe he simply didn't have much money to begin with. To most people, lending money in that kind of situation might feel concerning. But after talking to William over the past several days, I knew he was genuinely a good person. So I didn't feel even a bit hesitant about giving him the $2. In fact, seeing how happy William was made me think that as long as he didn't refuse, I might start giving him $2 every day. With that in mind, I decided to make the offer to him the next day as well. If you don't mind, would you like another $2 today? If it feels like I'm being condescending, feel free to say no.
I'd feel bad taking money 2 days in a row. $2 might not seem like much to some, but to me, it feels like a lot.
From the way you reacted yesterday, it looked like that $2 brought you a lot of happiness, didn't it? I really just want to see you happy.
If you put it that way, may I have it again today?
Of course. I'll give you $2 every day until we're discharged.
I feel awful accepting so much from you, really. I'll make sure to repay you in some way.
Don't worry so much. I know $2 isn't exactly a fortune, but please don't apologize so deeply over it. Honestly, if you stop by my sandwich shop after you're discharged, that would make me really happy.
Once I get home after being discharged, I'll head straight to your sandwich shop.
After having that conversation with William, it felt as if we had made some sort of agreement. I began giving him $2 every day. Some might think it would be easier to just give him a lump sum, but I worried that doing so might change the dynamic between us. That's why I handed him $2 at the same time every day, and each time, he'd leave the room with a bright smile. When I was first told I'd need to stay for observation, I never imagined my daily life would turn out like this. But every time I handed William that $2 and saw him walk out of the room with a smile, I felt a deep sense of joy. Seeing his smile made me long to return to this sandwich shop and serve my regular customers again. It's been about a week since I started giving William $2, and I still don't know what he's using it for. At this point, I'm starting to think it's better not to ask. While I was pondering that, I received the news. I had completed all my tests with no issues, and I was finally cleared to be discharged. William, it looks like I'll be discharged before you.
The doctor just told me that I'll be discharged next week.
In that case, please keep using this money until you're discharged.
Thank you so much for everything, from beginning to end. It's truly an honor to have received such kindness from someone younger like you, Kevin. I promise I'll visit your sandwich shop.
I'll be waiting for you. I'm holding you to that promise.
Take care of your health and keep doing your best at the sandwich shop.
Thank you for your kind words. Please take care of yourself as well, William. After exchanging farewells like that, I was finally discharged from the hospital. When I first found out I'd be hospitalized, I couldn't wait to leave. But after getting to know William, I found myself wishing I could stay just a little longer. That said, I knew I had to get back to running the sandwich shop. My future depended on it. As soon as I returned to the sandwich shop after being discharged, I noticed a crowd of regulars gathered around. At the center of it all was my mom. So I approached her to ask what was going on. Something was definitely off. The atmosphere felt unusual. I had just gotten a clean bill of health from my tests and thought my luck was finally turning around, but now, something was clearly wrong. What's with this crowd? Did a TV crew show up or something, turning us into a hot spot?
Unfortunately, it's the complete opposite.
What do you mean by that? Are you saying this place isn't popular anymore?
It seems a famous sandwich shop is about to open along the main street nearby.
What? I hadn't heard anything about that. When was this decided? If a popular sandwich shop opens nearby, how are we supposed to compete? Not that I'm planning to give up from the start, but still.
It was decided while you were in the hospital. I never expected something like this to happen. I don't know what to do. I'm sure our sales will drop significantly.
The sandwich shop I returned to after being discharged was completely engulfed in a negative atmosphere. Up until now, we had been sustained not only by our regulars, but also by sales from new customers, which were crucial. But with a popular sandwich shop opening nearby, those new customers would surely be drawn there instead. If I were a sharp, skilled manager, I might be able to come up with a clever strategy. But nothing was coming to mind. To make matters worse, the cost of ingredients has been rising, making overall operations even tougher. At this rate, the sandwich shop I left my job to take over could go under in just a few months. I had wanted to make it more successful than it was when my dad ran it. But I never saw this coming. Even though I was stuck in my worries, the world didn't wait for me. Just a few days later, the popular sandwich shop opened, and as expected, our sales dropped significantly. Not knowing what to do and plagued daily by nausea and headaches, I looked up as a group of customers entered the shop. Determined to face my customers sincerely, I forced a cheerful demeanor as I prepared to greet them. And then I realized that one of the customers was William. "Why are you here, William?"
Why? Because I promised I'd visit, so I brought my family along. Your sandwiches look absolutely delicious.
I'm really happy to hear that.
Why do you look like you're about to cry? Are you upset that I came?
No, it's not that. Things have been really tough since I was discharged, but seeing your face just made me feel so relieved. I didn't even realize I was tearing up.
You said things have been tough. Did something happen with the sandwich shop?
Well, a popular sandwich shop opened nearby and started drawing away our customers. And on top of that, the cost of ingredients has skyrocketed. It's really hurt our business.
I had no idea things were so bad. And here I am, showing up with my whole family.
William looked genuinely concerned for me, his expression filled with regret. Seeing that look on his face made me realize once again just how kind-hearted he really was. These past few days, I had been completely lost, unsure of what to do. It wouldn't be an exaggeration to say that I'd lost my dignity as a business owner. But when I saw William's face, I felt a renewed sense of determination. I needed to pull myself together. A business owner can't afford to be like this, right?
I have a suggestion. Would you be willing to hear me out?
This feels just like when you asked me for $2 at the hospital. If it's from you, William, I'll listen to anything you have to say.
It's not exactly a thank you for the money you gave me back then, but how about I provide you with fresh ingredients from my farm and fields for free?
What? William had mentioned before that he did something in the countryside, but I never expected him to be running a farm and fields. If we could receive the ingredients for free, our sandwich profit margins would increase significantly. Even if the popular sandwich shop continued to draw customers away, we'd have real chance of staying in business. That said, Our sandwiches are known for their high-quality ingredients. I couldn't make any promises until I saw for myself the quality of the produce from William's farm and fields. I decided to be honest with William and share my farts with him. I felt like it might come across as a bit arrogant, but as a business owner, I couldn't afford to compromise the quality of our sandwiches. I really appreciate your offer to provide the ingredients for free, but our shop is quite particular about the quality of our ingredients.
You don't need to worry about that at all. The produce from my farm and fields is considered some of the best in the country, so I'm confident you'll be able to serve sandwiches that your customers will absolutely love.
William, are you really that incredible? I'm so sorry, but when you asked me for $2, I honestly assumed you were living a modest or even struggling life.
The fact that you still gave me $2 every day, even while thinking about me, shows just how kind-hearted you really are.
I'm sorry if it seemed like I was doubting you. It's just that you're such a good person, and that's the only reason I kept giving you the $2.
Then I'll provide you with the best ingredients in the country for free because you're a kind, family-oriented person, Kevin.
Thank you so much. By the way, what were you using that money for? And why didn't you have any money at the time?
I lost my wallet when I nearly got lost in the mountains. The money you gave me, Kevin, was used to make calls to my wife from a payphone.
I see.
Thanks to those calls, I was able to give her the necessary instructions to manage the farm and fields, which helped us maintain the quality of our produce. The fact that our farm is still running at such a high standard is all thanks to you.
I never would have imagined that the $2 I had been giving William helped protect the best produce in the country. I had continued giving it to him simply because it made him happy. And now I was completely stunned by what I'd learned. After hearing his story, it became clear that he hadn't kept it a secret on purpose. He was simply so focused on the farm and fields that it never crossed his mind to mention it. Because his farm and fields were so important to him, he was incredibly grateful that he could make those crucial calls from a payphone to protect his produce. To think that the $2 I gave him ended up coming full circle and turning into the best ingredients in the country, offered to me for free. It was almost unbelievable.
Anyway, starting next week, I'll send you the highest quality ingredients for free. Use them to make and serve the best sandwiches.
I really feel bad accepting such an offer, but without your help, our shop would be in a tough spot. So, until things stabilize, I'll gladly take you up on your generous offer.
Our farm and fields are really vast, so we produce plenty. You don't need to worry about taking too much.
Thank you so much. I never imagined that meeting William during my observation stay would lead to such a life-changing connection. Life is truly full of surprises. If I had avoided the hospital out of laziness, our sandwich shop would likely have gone under due to the competition from the popular new shop and the rising cost of ingredients. Thanks to William's kindness, the highest quality ingredients in the country began arriving at our shop free of charge the following week. Our regular customers quickly noticed that the ingredients tasted even better than before, and before long, word spread about how amazing our sandwiches were. As a result, even though we had been losing sales to the popular sandwich shop, we soon surpassed them, and surprisingly, that shop ended up closing down. I imagine they pulled out early because we had drawn their customers away. With the competition gone, our sales increased even more, and we finally climbed out of the red. The shop was now on a successful track. It was all thanks to William's generosity, and no amount of gratitude could ever be enough. Now that our shop is thriving, I decided to stop accepting the free ingredients and began properly buying them from William to support his farm. When I found out I had to be hospitalized and that a popular sandwich shop was opening nearby, I feared the worst. But kindness came full circle, and thanks to that, I've been able to manage the shop successfully. From now on, I plan to continue managing the shop with integrity and sincerity, treating those around me with the same kindness I've been shown.